Y'all, it's your boy Joaquin Newmaster Buckley. Y'all already know I'm with the one and only Zoe Frank.
What is up, everybody, and welcome to the first episode of the EOM Combat Coverage podcast. Man, this feels so right. We're gonna get it cracking. If you are into combat sports, you're in the right place. If you never heard of combat sports and you just tuning in for the first time, don't worry. We're gonna get y'all up to speed. We got a lot for y'all. As always, Holy Spirit, use me, and we're gonna get it cracking. Let's go. So we'll start this episode off with a segment that I like to call the MMA Casual. And what that is for my non-MMA fans, getting them familiar with people who are prominent, that are accomplished, athletes within our sport. Whether it be a boxer or a UFC fighter, any kind of MMA fighter, or whether it be a wrestler, we're going to take an athlete in that respective sport and compare them to someone who's more well-known in another field, whether it be basketball, football, baseball, heck, it might even be an actor. But today we're going to start off comparing GOATs, greatest of all times. This is a topic that could get construed like many different ways in different sports. In basketball, you have the debate of whether LeBron James is the GOAT, whether Michael Jordan is the GOAT. You have in baseball, your person who you think is the GOAT, Tom Brady. In football, it just varies. But this is my podcast. Might be a little biased, but it's my thoughts. And this is just a straightforward conversation because I want to hear your thoughts on it as well. But we'll start off with Michael Jordan. Somebody that everybody knows about, whether it be his basketball career, baseball career, his shoes. He's a personality. Everybody knows Michael Jordan. And this first episode, I want to compare him to UFC fighter. So in my eyes, Michael Jordan is the greatest basketball player of all times. In everybody's eyes, he might not be. Might be LeBron James, might be Kobe. It just depends on your preference. But I feel like in his prime, whenever he was at the peak of his career, his skill set and his talents, he is the greatest basketball player of all time. I'll make that comparison to UFC fighter, John Jones. I could have went a few different directions with this. I could have went George St. Pierre. I could have went Anderson Silva, but I'll keep it at John Jones. In my opinion, John Jones is the greatest UFC fighter of all time. If we go down the list of accomplishments, Michael Jordan, 6-time NBA champion, won 3, ventured off into baseball, came back, won another 3. It was just so effortless. In his prime, whenever he was at his best, I don't feel like any other athlete could compete with the career that Michael Jordan had. LeBron James, great athlete, great player. He's on that level as well. I'm not trying to discredit him, but he does have the resume. He does have more resumes, more accomplishments than Michael Jordan. But I feel like if you take both of them at the peak of their career, Michael Jordan is better. That's why I have John Jones as a Michael Jordan comparison, because I feel like without the layoffs, without all the extra stuff, John Jones is the greatest MMA fighter of all times, preferably UFC fighter, but all-time MMA fighter, greatest. Let's go down his list of accomplishments. We have 2-time light heavyweight champion, not to mention he's undefeated, in his career. His one loss was because, and this is breaking it down for my casual fans, his one loss came from an illegal elbow on a downed opponent. At the time, whenever he was active, you could not elbow someone on the ground up and down like this. You could elbow them, like this, but not up and down. It was illegal. Just a general breakdown for, like I said, my casuals. But it is legal now. That loss is on his record, and that's his only loss of his career. So technically, John Jones has never lost. Never lost in a championship fight, similar to Michael Jordan. Never lost in the NBA Finals. John Jones, he defended his belt, light heavyweight, took a little break, came back, defended it some more. Holds the record for the most title defenses in UFC history at light heavyweight. Not to mention, he is the youngest ever UFC champion of all time. Not to mention, he ended a lot of undefeated streaks for fighters that you may not have known about, but we will be talking about this guy a lot on the podcast throughout the time being. But I would recommend that y'all look up, if y'all are just getting familiar with the sport of MMA, Jon Jones. Jon Jones, he moved up to heavyweight after another break and ended up beating the proclaimed boogeyman, I guess you would say, the toughest heavyweight that there was in the UFC at the time. He came back after years off, beat him in the first round of the fight, made it look super easy, won the heavyweight title. Came back again, defended the heavyweight title of who some may call the greatest heavyweight of all time in UFC. But I'll leave it at that, just not to complicate it too much, but to give y'all a general idea. But if I was to give y'all homework this week and you guys are looking to become more familiar with the sport, look up Jon Jones, Jon Bones Jones, and you could see how that comparison to Michael Jordan could come into play. I feel like his wrestling ability, his striking ability, his defense, his IQ was on another level from everybody who was in the sport of mixed martial arts. So that's why I compare him to Michael Jordan. Okay, so correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like in his prime, Kamaru Usman would beat Khabib Nurmagomedov. I visited this question on my Instagram account during the week and created a poll. Who do you think would be better in their prime? Who do you think would win a fight in their prime out of the two? Then I went and gave my spiel about how Usman was the heavier man. He was a welterweight, and Khabib was lightweight. That's a one weight class difference, but it does make a difference. I went on to explain how Usman, he defended that welterweight title a total of 5 times. He fought the who's who in the division. He was unstoppable. Usman is a college accomplished wrestler who turned into a striker during his title reign. He was getting called boring. He was saying that his fights weren't interesting. People were talking a lot about him, and it seems like he heard the noise because it was like he started cracking. There was a guy named Colby Covington who he ended up fighting for the title, who was another collegiate wrestler, who it seemed like it would be his toughest test up to that point. But he stood toe-to-toe with Colby. It stayed on the feet primarily, and he ultimately won the striking battle. Not to mention, later on, he fought Jorge Masvidal, who is a viral sensation for his knockouts. One guy, he knocked out Ben Askren with the quickest knockout in UFC history. And I'll show you the clip, but Kamaru Usman ended up putting him to sleep as a wrestler. So he wasn't just a wrestler. He was a striker. His takedown defense was great. And in his prime, he was unstoppable, looked to be unstoppable. You could argue that he was the greatest welterweight of all time. You could argue that's George St. Pierre. It's all a preference. Whereas you have Khabib Nurmagomedov. Khabib is a Dagestan legend. He was the lightweight GOAT in most people's eyes. He's the lightweight GOAT, Mount Rushmore fighter. He was undefeated in his career. That's the biggest thing. He was undefeated. In his prime, he seemed untouchable. Nobody could compete with him on the ground grappling. Nobody could wrestle with him. His takedown defense was good. He got hit a few times, and his chin seemed to hold up against some dominant strikers. But his career was cut short. His father passed away, and he promised that he would never fight past his father's passing. So he's one of those stories of, if he continued, how far would his career have gone? But whenever he was fighting, he looked super dominant to the point where it's hard to argue that anyone could have beaten him. The reason why I say Kamaru Usman could, and this was a realistic matchup, this actually, if they were both still fighting, this matchup could happen. But there's a guy named Khamzat Chimaev who is middleweight, and he's a heavy guy. He could fight light heavyweight if he wanted to. But Kamaru Usman had bad knees, mid-30s. He came off of a long layoff, a few losses to a guy by the name of Leon Edwards, and he ended up taking on this guy on short notice, Khamzat Chimaev, and I'll have a list of Khamzat's accomplishments. I recommend that everybody who I talk about and everybody that is mentioned in this pod should be researched on your own, just to be up to speed. I don't want to spend the whole episode giving a history lesson because I do have some listeners that are more knowledgeable of the sport, but I will throw in little information tidbits just to keep you guys completely out of the dark that are trying to catch up. But Khamzat was dominating everybody, taking them down with ease. Wrestlers, strikers, grapplers, just everybody. He was taking them down with ease, finishing them in the very first round, making every fight look easy. Kamaru Usman, like I said, he came off of 2 straight losses. It was due to his knees. You know, his knees were bad. He had a lot of injuries that he was trying to build back up. And he took on this guy. 1 week's notice, main event fight. They didn't want the card to fold. They called on Kamaru to save the fight. And not only did he save the fight, everyone who watched the fight could see that if the fight was a 5-round fight instead of a 3-round fight, that Kamaru would have most likely won the fight. Khamzat is the equivalent to what Khabib Nurmagomedov was. Undefeated in the UFC, undefeated in his career, dominant grappler. And in the earlier parts of the fight, Kamaru did get taken down with ease, but he kept getting up. Once he got up, once he figured out that he could tolerate the power of Khamzat, he ended up staying on his feet. When he stayed on his feet, he started striking, and the fight turned and shifted in his direction. Khamzat got tested in a way that we've never seen him get tested before, and this was a 3-round fight, which Kamaru won the later portion of the fight. Championship fights, main event fights are 5 rounds, and I feel like if this was a main event and a 5-round fight, I feel like Usman would have won unanimous decision, and I feel like that's the direction that the Khabib fight would have went in if he fought Khabib in his prime. Khabib would have probably had early success in the wrestling department first round, while Usman got familiar with his power. And ultimately, he would have made the adjustments like a champion would, and he would have ended up winning a striking battle. I don't think it's far-fetched to say that Khabib would have used his added size, being that they would most likely fight at welterweight and not lightweight. I think he would be able to adjust as far as weight is concerned, and he is strong, very strong. I've never seen anybody stuff his takedowns, but neither have we seen that to the point where Chimaev got tested by Usman. So correct me if I'm wrong, but I got to go with my boy Kamaru Usman in a matchup against Khabib Nurmagomedov. The poll is up still on my Instagram page. I want y'all to chime in. Let me know what y'all think about it. To my casuals, I want y'all to go back and look at that fight. Go look at the Kamaru Usman versus Khamzat Chimaev fight. And let me know what y'all think, because I'm real interested to find out. I think it's safe to say that wrestling is the most popular combat sport out right now. I posted a poll on my Instagram account during the week, and I asked, because last weekend they had a full slate of MMA coverage, and there was Dirty Boxing, which I attended. There was UFC, Volkanovski versus Lopez 2. There was the Royal Rumble, WWE Royal Rumble, men's and women's. And then there was a big boxing match, Teofimo Lopez versus Shakur Stevenson. I tried to keep my eyes on everything going on. The Dirty Boxing event was on Friday, and I gave pretty much my full recap of that on my social media accounts. If you would like to know of my experience with that, you could go back, recap, see what I posted on my Instagram, Facebook. But I attended the Dirty Boxing event. It was exceeded my expectations, phenomenal show. I watched the UFC event at the same time as watching the boxing event. So I watched the prelims and the main card of the Volk Diego Lopez 2. I also watched the Keyshawn Davis fight and also the Shakur Stevenson and the Teofimo Lopez fight. I vaguely kept up with the coverage of the Royal Rumble. I couldn't sit down and watch it live, but I did go back and watch it. And the full weekend was just phenomenal. If you are a combat sports fan, man, that weekend right there was your Super Bowl for sure. It was anything that a fighter could ask for, whatever sport you like. If you like all combat sports, that was a type of weekend that you live for. So I went on Instagram and asked a poll, like, what was the best event of the weekend? And surprisingly to me, honestly, I thought boxing was the biggest widespread combat sport. Still, people who don't follow combat sports just for big events, they'll watch boxing. They'll watch Jake Paul fight on Netflix. They'll watch Tank Davis. They'll watch Floyd Mayweather. People just love boxing. I didn't know that big of a fan base loved wrestling. Still, I know that it's big. I know that kids enjoy it. I know that a lot of adults still enjoy it. And I'm into it as well. I primarily follow the big events, the WrestleManias, the Royal Rumbles, SummerSlam, and I'll keep up to date. But I didn't know that people were generally into that more than the other combat sports. I know that out of all the combat sports, MMA is the youngest, so I don't expect it to be the most popular. It's my favorite personally, but I know that it's not the most popular, but I was kind of blown away that the Royal Rumble, by a landslide, won the poll of what event dominated the weekend. You had the return of Roman Reigns, which was phenomenal. You have Liv Morgan finally getting over the hump of, contending for that Royal Rumble championship and finally doing it. And there's a lot of interesting storylines going on right now within the WWE. So I didn't know as many people were tuned into it, and it was just an interesting conversation, but the poll of the week surprised me this week. All right, so on Friday night, I was able to attend Dirty Boxing 5. Dirty Boxing itself is a promotion ran by John Jones, which we spoke about earlier in the program, and also Platinum Mike Perry, who, he is a boxer. He's a bare knuckle fighter. He's a UFC guy. He is well-rounded in the martial arts community. He might be most well-known because of his boxing match with Jake Paul, but you Google his name, you'll see what comes up. You'll see how decorated he really is as a fighter. This was an event that I had been trying to get my hands on. I wanted to cover. I wanted to primarily get on as a photographer for the event. I do full-time photography. I'm a full-time MMA coverage guy, and it was something that sparked my interest. It was close to home, and I had been doing some behind-the-scenes work to try to get on this card. So the card was on Friday. I got the call on Tuesday that my credentials were approved and that I was needed to be in Houston on Wednesday to cover Media Day. I had other obligations on that Wednesday, so I couldn't make it the Wednesday, but Thursday morning I was there. I had got blessed with the opportunity to have the stay covered while I was there, and I got to experience Dirty Boxing. I watched all 4 of the first Dirty Boxing events, and I knew that 5 would be just adding more and more to what I already know as far as the sport growing itself, because they have a great product there. And I wanted to be a part of it. So whenever I got there, I didn't know what to expect as far as being a media man, because this was my first time covering media, but I fit right in. It was like one of those things where you enter into a space and immediately you feel like you belong. I knew that God had me there for a reason, and leading up to it, I took the 3-hour drive with my family to Houston. It was a quiet drive. I was trying to come up with things in my head. What do I ask these fighters? How do I interview them? Because at the time, I did some broadcasting in high school and also in college, but it was nothing that I ever took to the next level beyond. So, I tried to put my media hat back on, tried to resurface that after neglecting it for years, but the thing that kept coming back to me was just ask one question. Keep it simple. Don't do too much. You'll get a lot of people asking the same question, so just be unique. And the one question that I asked was, how does your faith motivate you and drive you during your career? That was the one question that I asked to every fighter. I posted a clip of the responses, and they were really good responses. So I feel like that right there made me comfortable on the ceremonial weigh-in night to be able to make the type of connections that I made, and also ultimately leading to me starting this podcast. Leading up to the event, I was in communication with a few different fighters from the card, and man, the love that I got from fighters as far as staying motivated, staying encouraged, and pushing myself to keep going within the sport that people like me are needed, allowed me to be able to make some connections with fighters that are top tier, like bad men and women. Like, they are really top of the line, fighting at the highest level, and allowing me to have access to what they're doing, to be able to speak to them to break news about their career. Not the first, but the second guy who I reached out to, who was a part of this card, his name was Maurice Morris. And, he's an accomplished wrestler. He started his career off wrestling, and then that transitioned into him doing MMA. And in his MMA career, he fought for a few different prominent organizations as a professional, which ultimately led to him being like, MMA is cool, but I want to test myself some more. So he ended up taking up bare knuckle boxing, and that's just boxing without gloves. So you really have to be a dangerous person to do that kind of fighting. So he took on bare knuckle, three first round finishes, all by knockout in the bare knuckle space. And he ended up signing a contract with Dirty Boxing. So I was able to keep up with his career and also reach out to him to say, like, hey, I know this is your first event. I want to cover you for this event. Things didn't work out. A few things didn't pan out to where we weren't able to work together for the actual event, but we stayed closely connected, and we also came to an agreement that we wanted to work with each other post the event. The event didn't go his way. He didn't get the win that night. There was things that, he emphasized needed to be corrected, things that normally go right within his time of preparing for a fight that didn't really go his way this time around. And I reached out to him after the fight, gave him good wishes, and also he wanted me to be able to be the first to speak with him after the fight so that he could break down what he feels like went wrong, not generally went wrong, because he's a fighter. You win some, you lose some, you get back up, and you're still the baddest man on the planet. So much respect to him, everything he has going on. And I was able to speak with him after the fight a few days later and get his take on it. I'm beyond honored that he allowed me the platform to be able to tell his story. So what you're about to hear is an exclusive first interview since Dirty Boxing 5 from Maurice Mayhem Morris. Enjoy.
That's right. That's right. And man, like fresh off a fight week, this a week removed from the fight. Physically, how you feeling?
Physically, I'm good. I'm good physically. Nothing about recovered. Been back in the gym this week and getting ready to get ready for the next one.
That's right. That's right. So you trying to make it a quick return, or how you feeling?
Yeah, I'm feeling like March. I feel like March is Dirty Boxing. We could do it in Tennessee, man. I didn't take any damage, just got caught early, and I'm to blame for that. But
Right.
we get to that.
Yeah, nah. But normally, like you are, what around like 225-ish? You were fighting down a little bit this time, huh?
But yeah, I usually fight. Well, the last 2 years I've been fighting the bare knuckle. I've been fighting 225.
Okay.
Before then, I fought MMA at 205, but I was walking around 255. So being a big weight cut and
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, did you think that going into this fight that the weight cut would be difficult, or do you think it was something where you thought it would have been easier than what you actually got into?
Honestly, the weight cut. I got a incredible coach I got an incredible coach, and incredible team will fuel my fight camp. Like the weight cut would have been smooth. Is I got caught in the airport for 2 days because there's a snowstorm now in Charlotte, and I couldn't cut for 2 days during fight week, and that that was terrible on the weight cut. But those conditions, nobody could have controlled. Nobody could have controlled the snowstorm. Charlotte, we never get snow. We got hit with 2 blizzards 2 weekends in a row.
Yeah. And that's the thing people don't understand about fight is the adversity. It's not just injuries that you guys sustain during the fight week, but I mean, you guys have lives, man. Like it's the little things. That's why, a lot of times we don't like to bother the fighters leading up to the fight. They just give them their space, man, because I know y'all go through a lot.
Yeah. We definitely go through a lot. But in like with full families, with full camps, and then if you fighting like all the fighters that fight for the bigger organizations, we always traveling and getting everything. Like fight week is crazy, and the week before fight week is super crazy.
Yeah. Now, when did you officially arrive in Houston? I know you said they had those setbacks leading up to it, but how far before the fight did you actually arrive?
I arrived Tuesday. Was actually Wednesday morning. It was like
Okay.
2 a.m. Wednesday morning. I was supposed to arrive Monday morning at like 8 a.m. But
So you went straight off the plane to media day, huh?
yeah,
Pretty much.
I got out the plane, checked into the room, and went to the gym and tried to catch up on some of the 2 days I missed on cutting weight from sauna.
Yeah. Now, coming from your wrestling background that you have, because I heard you were quite a wrestler in your day, but coming from that wrestling background, when did you figure out that you really had hands like that? Because you really be scrapping, man.
It had to be late in my MMA career, probably 4 fights into my MMA career, when I was willing to stand up. If you watch Bare Knuckle, Cub Hawkins, I fought Cub Hawkins in MMA, and I couldn't get the takedown for some reason. He's a great wrestler. I couldn't get the takedown in the first round, so he forced me to stand up, and I stood up for the next 4 rounds with him. And after the fight, my coach was like, "Bro, you just stood and struck with one of the best strikers that walking this earth." And that's when I really realized, well, I can wrestle, but I don't have to always go to wrestling. My striking is world class.
Now, even before that, I mean, you were making quick work of your opponents. Looking at your resume, they don't see the wrestling side. They just see that straight into your professional career. You was knocking them down.
Oh yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes. Because it's a, once you get that first knockout, it's like addictive. Like that knockout, you just chase it and you fall in love with. Like I know I did. I fell in love with knocking people out. So like
Now, how did that relationship between you and Dirty Boxing come about? Because this was your debut match with the corporation, but how did y'all end up coming to terms that you would be a part of this organization?
I've been speaking with Dirty Boxing matchmakers for since the very first Dirty Boxing show. Where it had no audience. They was trying to get me. They wanted me to come fight, but I was still locked in with bare knuckle, and I told them no, I wasn't fighting. But it been finally. It's December. They hit me up again, and I fought last fall in August. If you look at my record, I stay really active.
Yeah.
So is I've been trying to get another fight with bare knuckle since August, and they was telling me it was be March before I would be able to fight again. So I said, okay, I got that's gonna be 8, 10 months. No, nobody can't go that long without a paycheck. I gotta do something. I gotta fight. So I told them if they would promise me at least 3 fights a year, I'm willing. I was willing to sign on a dotted line. That's how I got here.
Now, as far as that side of it goes, you were keeping up with the corporation ahead of you actually signing?
Oh yes, yes. I love Dirty Box. I love everything about the sport from the first show I watched. Um, one of my training partners, Brian Battles, he fought twice on Dirty Boxing so far, and it's just the whole aspect of the sport. Like it's like that feeds right into my fighting style, my breeding ground for fighting.
That's right. And now, as far as the opponent goes, did you have any say so in who you were going to take on, or was it just kind of like a thing where they matchmake behind the scenes and were like, "Hey, this is who we have you fighting"?
No, I really didn't have any say so. Well, they offered upon I could have said no, but at this I was I'm a game fighter. It's always long as you're not tomato can, I'm willing to fight you. I like to fight the best fighters in the world. I like to challenge myself, and I feel like that's the only way I get that adrenaline rush and that what I'm seeking in a fight if I'm fighting one of the best in the world.
And then, like I said before, like even off the record, this is a platform for us to just as boys kick it and have a conversation. So this ain't an interview. Going into this matchup, I really like this matchup for you. Like I went back and looked at old film leading up to it, and I went back look at some of his film, and I was like, oh, I even told a media person that was sitting behind me, I was like, hey, don't blink. This is gonna be a quick one right here. I really liked it, and even getting off the like from round one, right, like right at the bell. That aggressiveness, I see you coming in. I was like, oh yeah, he got it on his mind. So like in the actual start of the fight, you were feeling good, you were feeling confident, everything was going your way. Like you felt like, okay, this is going exactly how I expected it to go.
Yes, it was. The beginning of the fight went exactly how I thought it would go and how I expected it. Is it just is what I knew his bread and butter. What we knew his bread and butter was. We didn't even train and defend it, even though we knew that Superman punch was like every time he get hurt, he throws that Superman punch.
Yeah. Now, what kind of person are you? Are you a type of person of, oh, I did this wrong, I got to go back and correct this, or I know who I am as a fighter, on to the next one,
Um,
or a little bit of
is
both?
it's both because I know who I am as a fighter, and who I am is not going to change. Like even from like my this last fight, Travis St. John, I outstruck him. Like I didn't get beaten any striking whatsoever. It was we went in this what I need to fix, what I did wrong is I felt like I dedicated one coach to everything on this camp.
Mhm.
My last fight against what was his name? Alexis Kaiser. That was the best fight I ever had because that was the best camp I ever had. I dedicated a strength and conditioning coach. I dedicated my nutrition coach for my weight cut, and I dedicated my striking coach Mason. But this time I let a striking coach take on everything, and it was little things. The biggest thing was that Superman punch. We knew every time he got in trouble, he threw that Superman punch. And right now I'm fighting at the highest level in the world. So if somebody do something over and over, they do it because it works. It works for them. And we talked about the Superman punch, but the only thing in camp was said, okay, don't get hit with a Superman punch. We didn't drill not one time. I didn't drill against what the counter when he come counter on the Superman punch, what to do, to look for. We should have drilled it 100 times. That's what I need to fix. When I know what I need to look for in a fight, what I need to prepare for an opponent, I need to make sure we put the time in and drill exactly for that opponent.
Right. Now, as far as the next fight goes about, is the preparation any different going into a bare knuckle fight as opposed to going into a dirty boxing fight, or is it pretty much the same way that you prepare?
It's kind of the same. Only difference is we train a lot. We train elbows and ground and pound.
Okay.
Ground and pound it's an art of itself. If you ever watch my MMA fights, I'm a master at ground and pound. Like it's an art of itself. And elbow strikes I don't see myself personally throwing a lot of elbow strikes, but drilling for a dirty boxing fight, you always have to learn how to counter and defend elbow strikes because your opponent's throwing them. Most of these Muay Thai guys, they're throwing elbows.
Now, when did your pro career start? At what age?
30.
30? Okay. All right. So you a
That's when
spring
my
chicken,
amateur
man. You
career
fresh
started,
off the porch. You're a youngin' in the game right now. You still
Yes,
got a lot
sir.
of career left in you.
Yes, sir. That's where I started as an amateur at 30.
Man.
When 6 fights, most fights I didn't even get hit as an amateur. And I tried to get another amateur fight in South Carolina. Said, you can't fight as an amateur no more in South Carolina. So I went pro.
That set the scene for me. So first fight was at 30. Now, before that, were you married? Were you single? Were you trying to find something? Did you just have a bad aggression? Like, what was the story behind starting your career at that point in your life?
Okay. This, I don't know if you know this about me. Before when I started my career, I came straight from prison. I got in trouble when I was younger.
Okay.
Yeah, sentenced 10 years. I did 8.5 years. And I came out, and when I came out, same thing when I came out of the Marine Corps, everyone's like, bro, if you don't fight professionally, you got to give. We're going to be mad at you. Same thing behind the wall. Everyone's telling me, bro, we're going to be mad at we seen you beat 5 and 6 people up at the same time. Like, your gift, this your gift God gave you. You need. So when I came out, exactly what I told my parents. My parents, what are you going to do when you get home? I'm going to fight. I went and joined the gym, and the first thing I told the owner of the gym, I want to fight. How soon can you get me to fight? And he said, if you train a year or two, we'll go ahead. We'll start giving you amateur fights. I said, no, I want to fight. So I left that gym and caught one of my friends that was fighting, and he had a gym and joined his gym. He was like, yeah, I can give you a fight next week, bro. So
the rest was history. That's right. Now, like I said, leading up to this fight, I got introduced to you at this point. So a lot of what I learned about you, it was just going through the archive, backtracking. And fight night, I seen that you walk out and, your wife is in your corner. She's cornering you. I know a lot of fighters, they don't want their families to be a part of it. They distance themselves from their families leading up to the actual fight. But how does your family drive and motivate you?
Oh, my family, they motivate me, and they've been beside my side every step of the way, from my wife to my kids. During my everyday training, they're not in the gym when I'm working on technique, doing step by fine tuning everything. But when it gets tough, when I'm doing conditioning and when I'm cutting weight, and the times that the other fighters in the gym don't see, when it's just me in the gym, my family is there. My wife is there in the sauna with me as I'm cutting weight. My kids, we run laps, and they do exercises with me. Like, just knowing that I'm an inspiration to them inspired me to push myself to a higher level than I thought was possible when I first started this.
Now, your kids, they think you're the coolest dad ever by your career of choice.
Yeah, it's about my career choice, and I guess is the how much of an active dad I am
Yeah,
to them. Like I hear a lot of fathers say they in their children's lives, but how active I am, how hands on I am with them every day. They look at me as a superhero. Like they watch every fight, of course, but it's every aspect of life that I try to be that example. I want them to see in a adult.
that's right. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Your wife, she's a stay-at-home wife.
Yeah, she's a stay-at-home wife, kind of, sort of, because she has her own business as
Okay.
well. She runs the
Yeah.
business cutting press. She make custom T-shirts, everything custom. Do parties and anything custom you can name. She does. So,
So,
but she handles the house too. Take care of the kids while I'm at work and while I'm training.
now, do you feel pressure like with your career that you have a career as a fighter? So, do you take every fight personal? I guess what I want to say, instead of like, having that time, like that mindset of, okay, I have time. Do you take it more personal or feel any type of pressure that, all right, I got to get it now. This is now or never. This is my time.
Um, I feel yes, I feel the pressure that I got to get it now. This is my time, just because I lived a lot of life already, and you can't beat Father Time. I I went in the Marine Corps. I went to college. I did time behind bars. I lived a lot of life so far. So but I feel like all that right now was forming me into the person I am, making me into the fighter I am. Where I feel like this is the prime time. This is why I went through everything. I went through everything. This is why I lived the life I lived to bring me to this point in my life. Uh, and I feel that pressure that is now because like it's no better time. I feel like it's the perfect time. I'm bred for it right now.
Right. Now, do you think being like in prison, do you think that that helped you develop this mindset? Did you establish that mindset when you were there, or did you come out and were like, this is the time. Now is the time.
Um, I established that mindset in the Marine Corps.
It means okay.
When I'm in the Marine Corps, once I got in trouble, I wasn't home for long at all. I was home for maybe months, maybe couple months, and I got in trouble. So, but I developed that mindset in there where I felt like I could be the best. I felt like I was one of the best in the world, and just that time in prison just put me where okay, I know I'm the best, and I just gotta sit here and not waste away right now. I gotta prepare. I gotta make sure my body, my mind comes out stronger than it went in.
That's right. Now, I like to play matchmaker, and this is kind of like getting to the fun part of the segment, but I like to play matchmaker. And this week, my matchmaking skills and abilities had me focus on the woman's side. I was thinking that the organization could bring B Nguyen back, right? And they could sign Michelle Watterson and have them slug it out in a co-main event type big name fight. That would be good for the promotion. But I'm saying that to ask, is there anybody that you see that you could be a potential match for in your next event?
Inside the organization or outside the organization?
Give me both. Give me a dream matchup, but also give me someone who you want to fight in this particular skill set. They don't have to be signed to the organization right now.
In this skill set, Eric Olsen. He's still signed to BKB right now. So you know, think because that was supposed to be my next fight with BKB, and we got a little beef to settle between each other, but we meet one day down the line. But he does I forgot the name of the fighting where they got the eye gouge and they grapple. He do
Yeah,
that no
yeah.
holds bar. He's a tough guy, and I think that'd be a fun match for me.
Now, would you go back to bare knuckle?
Hmm. It's a tough question because I love BKB, but I never stop. I love the organization. Like
Yeah,
I got so much respect for the organization. That organization did so much for me and my family, and they've been so good. They are a great organization. Yes, so yes, I would go back to BKB if my career led me that
right.
way. But right now, I see dirty boxing doing huge things, and as the pioneers of us already inside the organization right now, I feel like as the organization climb, we gonna climb with it, and I feel like the sky's the limit for us in dirty boxing right now.
Yeah, I know 5 shows in just in this short period of time, the response that it's been getting has been massive. So the potential upside for it, I do see it as well. What, if anything, do you see that could potentially allow them to grow from your point of view? If anything in particular that you notice, like that they could do differently, or any more signings or any more weight classes, just in your opinion, was something that should be brought to their attention? Because if they're listening, just a suggestion.
I think we should do the 225 weight class.
Hmm.
I before BKB came with the weight class, I always felt like over 205 should have been heavyweight. But after fighting at the 225 weight class, it's a different type of animal. It's a different type of man that's in at 225. They're athletic and move like 85ers and 205ers, but they got a devastating knockout power as the heavyweights. And I feel like it's fighters like the Wolf and other fighters in the organization that would make a crazy impact at 225.
Yeah. Now, normally I like to title my episodes, and this one right here is titled "You Aren't What You've Been Through. You Don't Look Like What You've Been Through." So, just in case there's kids listening, or anybody who's young in their MMA career, or anybody that may be in a similar situation to where you were before you started your MMA career, do you have a message to give to those people, that's on the verge of a breakthrough, or that's on the verge of giving up?
Um, don't give up. Focus on focus on why you started the journey and where you wanted the journey to take you. Focus on that hunger you had the first time you ever stepped into an MMA gym or a boxing gym, and where you wanted your life to go and where you wanted your career to go, and push towards that regardless of what you hear what you hear in from the outside, or type of what type of people trying to deter you from your dreams or whatever. Just remember that guy that first stepped into that gym and the hunger he had and where he wanted to go, and never lose that guy.
What should we expect to see differently out of you in March?
Mars, you will see a more complete meal. You should see a complete meal again. You will see. I would say the fighter you seen in August when I fight Alexi Kaiser, you will see him again. But I feel like it's not even nowhere near the heights I'm gonna be by my next fight. Like I'm focused, I'm dedicated. I went straight out this fight. I haven't been back to the boxing gym, but I've been right back into the normal gym in my recovery and back to strength and conditioning, get my mind and my body ready to make another run. I'm hungry and I feel like you about to see uh if you watch Dragon Ball Z Super Saiyan version of me.
Man, look, I'm rooting for you. Everybody else on this pod is rooting for you, man. And the best is yet to come. This isn't the last time we're going to speak. We're going to speak leading up to the next big event, and we're going to be get back in the win column, my brother.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I thank you for having me, man.
I appreciate you for the time, everybody. Maurice Mayhem Morris joined us on the pod. Look, if you want to follow his career, go follow him on Instagram. It'll be tagged below. Amazing man, amazing story, family man, somebody who you can learn from. Just keep him encouraged and go show him love.
Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed the interview. That just about wraps up the program for today. I really enjoyed it. It's something that I'll do every week, dropping episodes once a week. This weekend, we just had the Super Bowl, so I didn't want to compete with the Super Bowl and drop on the same day. So it gave me some time to fine tune the podcast and make it right just for y'all, because I want y'all to enjoy it. I want this to be y'all podcast. I am a big supporter of a podcast by my favorite journalist, Ariel Helwani. And the reason why I'm so invested into that podcast is because he makes it interactive. He interacts with his guests and he interacts with his audience. And that's the kind of space that I want with you guys. So, if you thought there's things that I should have talked about on this podcast, or direction that you want me to lean in, things that you guys want me to address, let me know. Message me, email me, DM me, leave a comment, and we'll talk about it. Every week we'll drop a new episode. I hope you guys enjoyed the first. Thank you for being a part of the first, and we'll be back. God bless. See y'all next week.
Could have been a business then full of benefits, but a witness is all I ever wanted to become. I done had years invested.